The morning Linda Hayes opened the doors to Blackwood Creamery for the first time in 37 years, there were 11 trucks in her driveway. Dairy farmers from 3 counties, engines idling, waiting. By noon, the line stretched half a mile down Route 17, and the county sheriff had to direct traffic. 6 months earlier, she'd stood in the weeds outside that same building with a realtor who kept apologizing. "I know it's not what you hoped for," Karen Simmons said, swatting at a horsefly. "But honestly, Linda, I'm not sure what you expected for $75,000. The roof needs replacing. The equipment's been sitting since 1987. And the zoning, I'll take it," Linda said. Karen blinked. "You haven't even been inside." "Don't need to." "Linda." Karen's voice carried that particular tone women use when they're trying to save you from yourself. "This place has been on the market for 12 years. There's a reason nobody wants it. Dairy processing died in this county when the consolidators moved in. Even if you got it running, where would you sell? Who would supply you?" Linda walked to the building, pressed her palm against the limestone foundation. Solid. Her grandfather had poured this foundation in 1949. She could feel the history in it. 3 generations of cream separators humming, milk trucks arriving before dawn, her grandmother in a white coat testing butterfat content with equipment that looked like science fiction. "I'll figure it out," Linda said. By evening, half of Blackwood County knew. Linda Hayes, 53 years old, divorced, former dairy farmer forced to sell her herd 3 years ago when milk prices collapsed. She'd bought the old creamery. With what money? Nobody could guess. What she planned to do with it, even less clear. At the diner that week, the speculation ran thick as gravy. "Gonna be an antique store," someone said. "Or one of those wedding venues. She can't afford to fix it up. Place is a disaster." Pete Morrison, who ran 200 head and sold to Dairy Corp like everyone else, shook his head. "Linda's lost it. Grief does things to people. Her daddy dying last year, then losing the farm. She's not thinking straight." The waitress, Amy Schultz, refilled his coffee. "Maybe she knows something you don't." Pete laughed. "Knows what?" "How to throw good money after bad. There's no future in small-scale dairy. The margins don't work. It's basic economics." Linda heard about it, of course. Small towns don't keep secrets. She was loading her truck at the hardware store when Dale Pritchard approached, concern wrinkled across his forehead. "Linda, I heard about the creamery purchase. Listen, I know things have been hard, but have you talked to anyone about the money?" "It's my money, Dale. I'm just saying, there's people who can help. Financial advisors. My nephew's a therapist down in Canton. I don't need a therapist. I need concrete screws and a new auger pump. But what are you planning to do with that place?" She met his eyes. "Process milk. For who? Dairy Corp owns every contract within 200 miles. Nobody's gonna." He stopped. "You can't be serious. 6-inch screws, Dale. You have them or not?" He got the screws. Didn't mention the creamery again, but his expression said everything his mouth didn't. Linda's daughter Rachel called that night from Denver. "Mom, everyone's talking. Jamie's mom said you bought some old building. The creamery. Your great-grandfather's place. Why would you, Mom? You don't have that kind of money. You said you were living off Dad's retirement buyout. Used most of it. And the land sale from the farm." Silence on the line. "Then, that was your security. Your retirement." "This is my retirement. Processing milk in a building that's been condemned?" "Not condemned. Just neglected. What if it doesn't work? What if nobody?" Rachel's voice cracked. "I can't watch you lose everything again." Linda looked out her kitchen window at the lights of scattered farms, pinpricks against the dark hills. "Then I lose everything. But I'm doing it anyway." After Rachel hung up, angry, scared, Linda sat with her coffee going cold. She understood the fear. She'd felt it herself every day since she'd signed the papers. But there was something else underneath it, something she couldn't articulate to Rachel or Dale or anyone else. The dairy industry had broken the backs of small farmers for 20 years. Consolidated buyers drove prices down, played farms against each other, dictated terms. Farmers worked 100-hour weeks and couldn't afford their own product in the grocery store. Young people left for cities because they saw no future in the land their parents bled for. Linda's grandfather used to say that when you saw a problem, you either became part of the solution or part of the landscape. She'd been landscaped long enough. The bank had rejected her business loan application in under 3 days. High risk, uncertain market conditions, insufficient capital. She'd expected that. What she hadn't expected was the letter that came 2 weeks later from Jameson Agricultural Credit Union, a small outfit 3 counties over. Approved. $125,000 at 8% interest. We believe in long shots. The loan officer, a woman named Gloria Chun, had written a note in the margin. My grandfather lost his farm to consolidation. Make them pay. Linda started work in September. Hired Bobby Yates, who'd done refrigeration at the old creamery before it closed, to assess the cooling systems. Brought in structural engineers, electricians, plumbers. Stripped out 3 decades of mouse nests and rust. The building fought her every step. Collapsed ceiling tiles, corroded pipes, wiring that crumbled when touched. At the feed store, men stopped talking when she came in. Started again when she left. Burning through money, she heard. Won't last till Christmas. Sad really. She was a good farmer. November brought the first snow and the first visitor. Jack Brennan, organic dairy farmer who'd been fighting Dairy Corp's contract terms for 5 years, knocked on the creamery door at dawn. Linda was inside, wire brushing the old cream separator, her breath fogging in the unheated space. Linda Hayes. That's me. I heard what you're doing. Is it true? She set down the brush. What did you hear? That you're reopening. That you're looking to buy milk outside the corporate contracts. True. What can you pay? More than Dairy Corp. If the quality's there. His face did something complicated. Nobody's offered me more than Dairy Corp in 8 years. Nobody's been desperate enough to try. Or crazy enough. Depends who you ask. Which one are you? Linda smiled, tired. Haven't decided yet. Jack left his number. 3 days later, Sarah Chun called. No relation to Gloria, she said. But she'd heard through the organic farming network. Then Miguel Rodriguez. Then the Kowalski family operation. By December, Linda had informal commitments from 7 farms. All small operations. All organic or transitioning. All drowning under corporate pricing. On December 23rd, the health inspector arrived. Walked through every room. Checked every surface. Reviewed every system. Took 6 hours. It's compliant, he said finally. Barely, but compliant. Linda's hands shook signing the certificate. She'd spent everything. If this failed, she'd be 60 before she crawled out of debt. She opened January 4th with a soft launch. Just Jack Brennan's milk, small batch processing, testing the equipment. It worked. The separator hummed like it remembered its purpose. The pasteurizer held temperature. The cream rose thick and perfect. By January 15th, she was processing 4 farms. By February 9, and then Pete Morrison showed up. Pete stood in the creamery loading bay, hat in his hands, while Linda checked butterfat content on Sarah Chun's morning delivery. He didn't speak until she'd finished logging the numbers. Linda, I need to talk business. She looked at him, remembered the diner conversation Amy had repeated. Basic economics. Not thinking straight. Dairy Corp dropped my price, Pete said. 15%. Said take it, or they'd pull the contract entirely. I've got 200 head in production. I can't, he stopped. Can you take my milk? Thought small scale didn't work. The margins. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. Say it louder. For the back row. I was wrong, Linda. I'm asking. Can you take it? She ran the numbers in her head. Pete's operation would double her capacity. She'd need another refrigeration unit, another transport arrangement, more processing hours. What's your quality like? Same as always. I run clean. Antibiotics. Not for 8 months. I've been transitioning off them. Why? Because the writing's on the wall. Corporate buyers don't care about quality anymore. Just volume and price. I'm tired of working for people who treat milk like it's nothing more than commodity trading. Linda wiped her hands. I'll take half your production to start. If the quality holds, we'll talk about the rest. But Pete, if you badmouth this operation, if you undercut what I'm building here, I won't. People listen to you. The co-op, the county association. You told everyone I was crazy. I know. So when they ask, and they will, what are you gonna say? Pete met her eyes. That I was wrong. That you saw what the rest of us didn't want to see. He became the 10th supplier. And he talked. Within 3 weeks, Linda had calls from 17 more farms. Some were too big. She couldn't handle the volume. Some were too dirty. She wouldn't compromise standards. But 6 passed inspection. 16 suppliers now, all paying better prices than they'd seen in a decade. The product went to regional stores initially, small chains, co-ops, farm stands. Linda drove the delivery truck herself at first, building relationships, proving reliability. The milk moved. The cream moved faster. Restaurants started calling, asking about butter. I don't make butter, Linda told the chef from Harvest Table, a farm-to-table place in Columbus. Could you? She looked at the old butter churn gathering dust in the corner. Maybe. The butter happened in March. Small batch, cultured, hand-cranked initially until Linda could afford proper equipment. She sold it to 3 restaurants and 1 specialty store. It disappeared in 4 days. People are asking, the store manager said, saying they haven't tasted real butter in years. Linda ramped up production, hired Bobby's daughter Melissa to run the butter room, then hired Amy Schultz from the diner when the restaurant owner retired and closed the place. Then hired Dale Pritchard's nephew Marcus, the one who'd studied food science before giving up because there were no jobs in rural Ohio. By April, she employed 7 people. By May 12, the bank noticed. Gloria Chun came for a site visit, walked through the operation, reviewed the books. You're 3 months ahead of projections, Gloria said. When do you turn actual profit? September, if nothing breaks. When's the expansion? Linda blinked. Expansion? Linda, you're turning away suppliers. You've got a waiting list. At some point, you need to grow or you'll plateau. I don't have capital for expansion. Gloria smiled. You will. Keep these numbers, and we'll talk in 6 months. But growth brought attention. In June, a Dairy Corp regional manager showed up. Suit and tie, polished shoes that had never seen a barn floor. Ms. Hayes, I'm Todd Brennan. I'd like to discuss a partnership opportunity. Linda was elbow deep in a separator repair. Not interested. You haven't heard the offer. Don't need to. I know how you operate. We could offer you a supply contract. Guaranteed volume. You'd have security. She straightened, wiped grease from her hands. Security like what you offer farmers? Will you cut prices whenever you feel like it? Will you dictate terms and threaten to walk if they don't roll over? Market forces nothing. You're extracting value and calling it economics. I'm building something different. Todd's smile went thin. Different doesn't scale. You'll hit a ceiling, and then what? You're one equipment failure away from bankruptcy. Maybe, but I'll fail on my own terms, not yours. He left. Linda's hands shook for 10 minutes after, but she didn't regret it. The rejection made the rounds. Farmers heard. More started calling. Rachel visited in July, flying in from Denver. She walked through the creamery, watched the operation, saw the trucks coming and going. Mom, this is real. What did you think it was? I don't know. A grief project. A way to feel connected to Grandpa. Not. She gestured at the bustling facility. Not an actual business. People need what we do. Farmers need a fair price. Customers want real food. It's not complicated. But everyone said everyone was wrong, including you. Rachel flinched. I was scared for you. I know, but being scared isn't a reason to stay small. That night, they ate dinner at Linda's kitchen table, butter from the creamery on bread, milk that had come from Jack Brennan's farm that morning. I'm proud of you, Rachel said quietly. Linda reached across the table, squeezed her daughter's hand. I'm proud of me too. August brought the drought. Temperature hit 98 degrees, stayed there for 12 days. Pastures burned. Conventional operations with confined cattle saw production dropped 20%. But Linda's suppliers, mostly grass-based, mostly organic, had invested in soil health, rotational grazing, drought-resistant practices. Their production dipped 5%. Manageable. Dairy Corp couldn't say the same. They slashed contracts with 14 farms in Blackwood County, including Pete Morrison's second herd. This time, Pete didn't come alone. He brought 8 farmers with him. Linda, we need you, he said. The others stood behind him, desperate and dignified. She looked at them, saw herself 3 years ago, back against the wall, no options left. I'll take you all, she said. But we need to expand. And I need you to invest. Invest how? Co-op structure. You buy shares, you own part of this operation. We succeed together or fail together. No more middlemen extracting value. We build equity. The silence stretched. Then Pete nodded. Tell me how much. The co-op paperwork took 6 weeks to finalize. 23 farmers bought in. Pete Morrison led with the largest share, followed by Jack Brennan and Sarah Chun. Linda retained controlling interest but structured it so profits flowed back to farmer owners based on supply volume and share ownership. Gloria Chun approved a $400,000 expansion loan in September. They broke ground on the new processing wing in October, added refrigeration capacity, bought modern equipment alongside the restored vintage systems that gave their products distinctive character. The work was relentless. Linda supervised construction, managed production, handled sales, drove deliveries. She slept 4 hours a night. Her body ached. Her bank account terrified her every time she checked it. But the butter sold. The cream sold. The milk moved through regional chains so fast stores started doubling orders. In November, a food writer from Cleveland magazine came out, did a feature on the local creamery defying corporate consolidation. The article went viral in farming communities, got picked up by national food publications. Suddenly Linda was doing phone interviews, explaining over and over that it wasn't revolutionary. It was just old-fashioned vertical integration with fair pricing. "You're giving farmers double what Dairy Corp pays," one journalist said. "How is that sustainable?" "Because we're not extracting profit at every level. We're not paying shareholders in New York. We're not funding executive bonuses. The money stays in the community. It's sustainable because it's honest." Orders increased 40% in December. Linda hired 8 more people. The new wing opened January 2nd, running at 60% capacity within a week. Dairy Corp noticed. Todd Brennan came back, this time with a senior vice president named Catherine Wallace. "Ms. Hayes, we'd like to make an acquisition offer. $8 million for the facility, the brand, and the supplier contracts." Linda was in her office, surrounded by paperwork. She didn't look up. "No, that's a life-changing amount of money. My life's already changed. You could retire. Travel. Enjoy your success." "I enjoy this." Catherine's voice sharpened. "We can make things difficult. Supply chain pressure, market competition, legal challenges to your licensing." Linda set down her pen, looked at Catherine fully. "You can try, but I've got 23 former owners with lawyers. I've got a community that's seen their neighbors come back from the edge. And I've got customers who care where their food comes from. So go ahead. Make things difficult. I've been dealing with difficult my whole life." They left. Linda's hands only shook a little. The retaliation came in February. Dairy Corp dropped prices another 20% across the region, clearly trying to undercut Linda's model by forcing her to match. But she'd structured the co-op for exactly this scenario. The farmer owners voted to take temporary pay cuts rather than compromise quality or long-term stability. They'd been playing the short-term game with Dairy Corp for years. They understood patience now. By March, 3 Dairy Corp suppliers had defected to Blackwood Creamery despite the risk. By April, 7 more. Dairy Corp pulled out of Blackwood County entirely in May, calling it an unprofitable market. Translation: they'd lost control of the supply chain and couldn't extract enough value to justify staying. The county held a celebration at the fairgrounds. Pete Morrison spoke, thanked Linda publicly, detailed his farm's financial recovery. Other farmers testified. The crowd, 300 strong, gave Linda a standing ovation. She stood at the microphone, uncomfortable with attention, wanting to be back at the creamery. "This isn't about me," she said. "It's about remembering that farming is about people, not just profit. It's about building systems that work for communities, not just corporations. My grandfather knew that. We forgot it for a while. But we're remembering now." The applause followed her home. Rachel moved back to Ohio in June, took over operations management so Linda could focus on strategic growth. They worked side by side, rebuilding the relationship that had fractured when Linda made a choice that looked like madness. "I didn't understand," Rachel said one morning, both of them in the office before dawn. "I thought you were being reckless. But you were being brave. Sometimes they're the same thing. How did you know it would work?" Linda considered. "I didn't. But I knew doing nothing definitely wouldn't work. So I chose the risk that had a chance." By August, Blackwood Creamery processed milk from 47 farms across 4 counties. They'd added yogurt and cheese to the product line. Revenue projections hit $3.2 million for the year. The farmer owners received dividend checks that made grown men cry. The expansion loan would be paid off in 3 years instead of 10. Gloria Chun came for the anniversary celebration, toasted Linda with cream-top milk in a champagne flute. "You know what you did," Gloria said. "You proved the model. Now I've got 17 other loan applications from farmers trying to rebuild local supply chains." "You started something." "We started something," Linda corrected. The farmers, the workers, the customers, everyone who chose different. Most people choose safe. Safe was killing us. Different was the only real option. That night, after everyone left, Linda walked through the creamery alone. The equipment hummed, some of it restored vintage from her grandfather's time, some modern efficiency. The cooling rooms held tomorrow's deliveries. The production board showed orders running into next month. She stopped at the old butter churn, now a display piece in the retail corner, ran her hand over the worn wood. Her grandmother had cranked this churn 6 days a week for 30 years, built something meaningful that corporations had later destroyed in the name of efficiency. But here it stood again. Not exactly the same, better, more resilient, community-owned, built to last because everyone had skin in the game. Linda Hayes, 54 years old, stood in the creamery her grandfather built and she'd resurrected, surrounded by proof that sometimes the craziest choice is the sanest one available. Outside, the morning's first delivery truck pulled in. Jack Brennan, always punctual. Another day starting. More milk to process, more customers to serve, more farmers depending on her vision. She tied her apron, checked the equipment readings, and got to work. The trucks kept coming. The community kept growing. And Linda, finally, could rest in knowing she'd chosen right, not because it was safe, but because it was true.